I decided we need to take another look at Apollo 17, where the position of the LEM actually is. I figure
Oh,
there's anywhere between 4 and 5 positions. So I took as many photographs as I found with the LEM. Then the PDF file is from 2002, and it is absolutely verbal diarrhea using 10-cylinder words, combining them all together, and it goes on for paragraphs. Just this absolute jarbled state. What's in that document is the fact that they took the photographs from Apollo 17 and they modified them to correct the visual effect of distance. That's what the whole article's about. It's quite the thing to take a look at, what they were doing. And they're doing it pixel by pixel. The ones that doesn't look like there's anything there in the LEM, it's in the background. So I found a number of them that are well in the background, so you can see how far out they are on the surface. And then here they are up against the southwest corner with the experimental equipment. The experimental equipment is 500 feet away from the LEM, and they're 12 miles away from that corner, yet they're in that corner. And then again, they're not. They're out in the middle. The next one, shots around the LEM, showing north, south, east, west, showing how far they are in distance away from the mountains.
they do. It's a very weird situation that because
Yeah, and
several people have identified them.
yeah, and then the one, of course, that goes over top of Tracy's rock, right? It's on an angle. I
Yeah,
found a couple more showing it's even more on a severe angle. It's back in the distance on those photographs. If you don't see anything in there, it's back there.
there's some very weird situations there. I mean, those two pictures I use showing the lunar module in
Yeah,
different positions relative to the South Massif, which is in the background. What's that about? I mean, cameras don't work that way.
can't bring a mountain that's supposed to be 5 miles away from them closer. What's even stranger is that PDF file that I found. It's claiming that they were using pixel by pixel because the mountains were too big to correct
Uh,
it so that the mountain is within the frame.
yeah, the mountain is shown in the frame most of the time, except
Yep.
when you get very close-up pictures.
Yeah, except if they're doing that for Apollo 17, I have the original documents before they tampered with them. Not to mention the fact that the old magazines and stuff like that and the older books
Yeah,
from the 70s are the same pictures. So I don't know what they're trying to do here. Like maybe they're listening to us and they put a whole team of guys together and say, oh, well, the pictures have been modified pixel by pixel to create this effect and that effect.
yeah.
And we blurred out the mountains to smooth them. Like it says they smoothed the mountains out deliberately in that document.
Which indicates that there were features on the mountain which could be seen in different images. But if they smooth them out, they won't get seen.
No, and that's the problem because when we look at the A and then we look at the B, in the A, you can actually see some shadows in the craters. But then when
Yeah.
you look at the one that they've digitally enhanced, it looks like those craters are full and they've been there forever. So how can they turn around and say that this is reality?
I know.
And then they turn around and these guys, these NASA supporters, start getting on our case just because we use an auto enhancement on some faces. We're not talking AI enhancement, it's just an auto enhancer. It
Yeah.
has nothing to do with turning people's faces into AI. But when these guys do it, that's a whole other story.
Yeah. It is.
And then it obfuscates reality. And that's exactly what they're doing. And then we look at some of the other images that they have in that PDF, and it's the same thing. And then they've gone and they've color enhanced these to show you the different materials that are supposedly to be found in that regolith. When you start digitally enhancing it like this, and then you look over on the far left side, and there's nothing there. There is no information there to glean out of anything. And yet, then we look at the center image, and then we look at the one on the right. All of a sudden, you have this beautiful hill with these craters on it, when there
Yeah.
is absolutely nothing on the original image. There's
Yeah.
nothing there. And then you look at the other one and compare A and B, you have a bunch of small craters there, but where are they as soon as they enhance it? They're
Yeah.
gone. Come on, guys.
Looks like there were several teams of people working on these images.
Yeah,
And
amazing. That document is from 2002.
that was when they started to put them up onto the internet.
Well, yeah, but the thing is they didn't create this document until after they were uploaded.
That's true. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when people started claiming, hey, how do you do this in the photographs? How do you do that? Well, they were scanned in from like 95 on with Kip Teague. But those images are the same as what you'd see in a Time magazine from 1970.
Yeah. That's right. You do.
So if they're saying, oh, well, we went through them pixel by pixel to give the correct visual stance that the mountains are this far in the distance and you can see all of this stuff, they're trying to compensate for the fact that it's actually on a set and we can show that it's on a set.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's quite right. There's something very weird happening. Very weird. It's as if they had identified a problem, tried to correct the problem, and failed because they added in too much. They put too many different images there. And once you start looking at them in detail, individually, you realize they're not the same pictures.
No.
They're not the same images. It's as if the creators of the alleged hills, South Massif and so on, didn't get together to say, well, this is what we're going to do. So they had to blur them out because they got them wrong.
Yeah, well, now they're saying anything that we find in the photographs as far as perspective and the blurred mountains and all smoothed out and stuff like that, and we say, well, here's the Kubrick line, they're saying, well, this is where we worked on it from here up.
Well, of course they're going to say we got it wrong. They can't agree with us.
And they do it in 10-cylinder words through that entire document. You try and read it. You can try and read any of that's in that document. It's just verbal diarrhea, just spewed.
They knew there were mistakes. They tried to cover them up and they made them worse. It's tragic. And yet they're going to claim that this is for real. When you see the different positions of the lunar module on the Apollo 17 landing, the Taurus Littrow Valley, they got that wrong too. They kept putting them in different positions as if that was going to prove something. It doesn't. It just proves it's fake.
Well, the only thing I think, when I looked at the date on the document, that's about the first time you were in the media with David Percy talking about this stuff.
Yeah. Well, that time that I appeared with David Percy, the first time, that was late 90s.
Right. And they put a team together and produced this and finished it off by 2002.
I would imagine they'd looked at that because it was a fairly high-profile interview with John Ronson and the launch of David and Mary's book, Dark Moon, Apollo and the Whistleblowers. That is still the definitive book on the subject. Some of it's a bit dated, and it doesn't include the more up-to-date information that we've gathered, but it's always considered to be the definitive book about the moon landings because David did 8 years of interviews, 8 years of research. So he knew what he was talking about.
You guys actually triggered that document that I came across there. They were making excuses from then on.
They suddenly realized that there were people who were identifying the problems already, specifically David, given the quality of the people he'd interviewed. I mean, Arnold, who was UK managing director of Kodak, and he showed the film. He was saying what you'd expect him to say, that Neil Armstrong was a very good photographer. Well, he may be. He got the photographs that they wanted to demonstrate that man had landed on the moon. Well, they hadn't, so they had to fake it. And they made a very poor job of faking it because they didn't realize that 30 years later to that interview, people like us and many others around the world are starting to examine the whole Apollo landings in the detail that was required to demonstrate the fabrication that had gone on.
I think probably what triggered this PDF file to try to account for some of the anomalies that's in the photographs is the fact that the people that were out there talking about it were professional film people. That would make them jump.
Yeah, because David Percy is recognized as a photographer and a filmmaker. So they'd take notice of what he was saying. And when he produced his documentary, What Happened on the Moon, illustrating all this as well, bells were ringing, alarm bells went off. Oh God, somebody spotted it. We better create some new images. They failed.
That's one gigantic excuse, that document, right? When you have a look through it and just see what they've done, they've put charts up, they've done everything, they've got pixel by pixel degree angle on the lunar surface for this many degrees north, this many degrees south, and this is the resolution of the pixel by 0.000 whatever, right? All kinds of stuff that just don't make any sense.
When you take a look at the histogram that I just taken in the editor, and then you look at the ones that they've posted in the PDFs, you can see where the data is dropping off, you can see where there is data, and then you can see where there isn't any data. When you start looking at the histograms, there was one particular one of interest because when I took a look at the histogram black and white, one thing I noticed was that there was still a lot of data in the sky that is black. That's not supposed to be there, but you can't see it when you brighten it up, when you add contrast, when it's not there, but it sure is on the graph.
Oh, maybe that's 3i Atlas coming through. It's been flying around forever.
3i Atlas.
There's a thing I've noticed recently is that there are many more people now, not connected with NASA, mainly Americans, who are beginning to question the veracity of the moon landings. They're doing it very politely. They're indicating certain things. There's a film I watched last night, and they were using game theory to find out what was going on. Now, game theory is a fairly well-known activity amongst planners. And basically, the answer was, yeah, it was fate. It had to be. They couldn't reach the moon with humans. That's something we've known for years. Yeah, you can reach the moon with robots and with unmanned craft. That's been done since 1959.
There's another couple of videos out there where people are doing the same thing. They're re-examining the Apollo story, and the story seems to be falling apart.
I think it is. I think it is. Oh, yeah, here we go. It's LEM pick. Let's unload it.
Like I said, everyone has a LEM in it from all different angles. And there is one that has a panoramic as well. If you put those side by side, it'll show you from one view to the other, from the experimental equipment out, like from the central station there, out to the rock. And then the next one's a different angle, standing right beside the central station out. And you can see that there's absolutely nothing there in that direction that the other picture's taking. And there's all kinds of mountains behind there, right? There's those, and then of course you see Tracy's rock. I got that picture up there, and then the other ones are showing different views of it out there and the extreme angles that it's actually on. You can go through and talk about those.
The two last pictures I've got is one of Tracy's rock and the rover and South Massive in the background, and the other picture is the lunar experiments, which has the same feature in the background. Okay, we got the left-hand picture shows the lunar rover, Tracy's rock on the left, and South Massive in the background. And the right-hand picture shows the lunar experiments spread out. Now, if you look over to the right of the geophone rock, there's two features here. Compare those to the features in the Tracy's rock picture on the left. They're the same size.
Yeah, and then you can show them exactly where the LEM is located from there. It's still miles and miles away.
There's the LEM there.
Yeah, it's about halfway there.
Yes, about halfway. So you'd expect the lunar experiments and the geophone rock to be more or less in the same position.
Yeah, it's only 500 feet away from the LEM.
Right. So if the LEM is here, you can just about see it. Let's try and enlarge it a little bit. There it is. There's the LEM.
Yeah, so you can see how far it is away from the mountain in the background.
Yeah.
And yet on the right-hand one, you can see how close it is to those.
It is. It's as if they're completely different images. And the mountains have been added later, but at the wrong scale.
Oh yeah, the scale is right out to lunch.
Yeah, makes no sense at all. So you've got the LEM in the picture. People will have to believe that that is the LEM. We can prove it eventually because there are images in which it can be enlarged to the point you can identify it as the lunar lander. You've got the geophone rock. It should be in this picture. It's not. And yet these images here correspond to these images.
Well, that rock would be too tiny to see.
Yeah, it would be
It
too
would be
tiny.
right beside the LEM, basically at that distance, because you're already looking at from Tracy's Rock to the LEM is about 12 miles in the documents.
Yeah, it's certainly a very long way. And if you're using a telephoto lens, you might be able to identify it. I'm surprised it was never pointed out that that's where the LEM is in relation to Tracy's Rock. But just see if there are other pictures which correspond better to it. There's the LEM. This is the third one from the end. There's the lunar module. And that's probably a cubric horizontal, isn't it?
Oh, it is so, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, what's interesting is when you come down to the other pictures, that corner in the background there is the southeast corner, what you're looking at. This picture that you have up here, that's the southwest corner. When you're looking from Tracy's Rock down, like the first one, shooting down there with the rover in it and stuff, you're looking in that picture to the southeast. Where the geofoam rock is, what's in the background is the southwest corner. The other picture that you're looking at is from the central station looking over the geofoam rock. You're looking directly north right now. So if you're at the central station shooting the picture over top of the rock, you're shooting to the southwest corner. But when you're up at Tracy's Rock and you see the same formation, that is the southeast corner. You're looking directly west there.
Looking at the lander this time.
Yeah. And look at how smooth that is.
Isn't it just? The whole thing is smooth. You can see
it's like a big football field.
There's the lander again in a similar position.
And so if you take that other picture, if you're standing at the experimental equipment, if you take the picture over that rock down there, you should see that giant mountain there. It's 4.5 miles away from that direction. If you scroll across a little more to the right, I don't think they've got the equipment set out there at that point. The rock and the experimental equipment are the same distance down from the LEM. Straight back from where the flag is where the experimental equipment would be there. And the same distance down. And then you take a look at that. Where the hell is that? When the other picture shows you from that direction is that giant south mass.
Yeah, but now look how close they are to those hills.
Yeah, that's the southwest corner.
That's right, yes. But again, you don't see that in the previous one. The perspective is so wrong here. The South Massif is about 7,000 meters across at the base and is 2,300 meters tall. So, if you're that close, if you're at the geophone rock and you're up to it as close as these guys are, you are going to be dwarfed by that South Massif. 2,300 meters tall.
So about 7,500 feet approximately?
Yep. So let's just say you have a 7,000-foot mountain in front of you. Does that look like a 7,000-foot tall mountain?
No way.
That mountain would dwarf you.
Yeah, it would.
And I've just Googled some pictures here. What does it look like from the bottom of a 7,000-foot hill on the Earth? You want to see what the picture shows? Because I'll tell you something, it's absolutely nothing what we're seeing here.
Yeah, that's an interesting picture you just had up there because, first of all, the sun is basically vertical. Basically directly overhead. There's no shadow length at all on anything. You can see it even by the rocks. There's no shadow length at all on a thing. The entire ground is falling away to the right. You're looking directly east on the thing, and that doesn't look like any of the other pictures when they're taking the photo shoot around the flag, when they were showing off the flag, the wet flag, of course. You can see the sun angle is almost vertical, but the ground is completely different. It's not even level.
Well, I'll tell you, here we take a look at Mount Kilimanjaro. The person taking it is approximately 27 to 2,800 meters at the bottom. You take a look at that, compare that to what we're seeing in Apollo. This makes no sense at all.
Unless they've completely got all the heights of mountains on the moon completely wrong. But they keep saying that's what the figures are. You know, in the Apollo 15, they say they're, 6,000, 7,000 feet? It's a point I made when I do a presentation. I show the Apollo 15 hill, and I say that's supposed to be 7,000 feet high above the surface. It doesn't look like it. Then I show the picture of Everest, taken from base camp, which is 10,000 feet above base camp, and it looks exactly like 10,000 feet. It's 2 miles above it, about 10,000 feet. Very, very weird.
If you were standing at the very base of Mount Kilimanjaro, you're
Yeah,
looking at 5,895 meters. That particular picture that I'm showing here indicates that that was taken from 2,877 meters, where that person was standing taking that image. There's no way that that looks anything like the South Massif. And then we take a look at Mount Kilimanjaro from back further, and then it actually looks a bit like the South Massif period when you look at it from this angle. Now, from that angle, it's 5,800 meters. This other one on the top is 2,800 meters. Well, 2,877. So we'll call it 2,800.
Yeah.
But you could see the difference in the perspective of that mountain, and that's about 2,000 meters difference in height that we're looking at here. Why don't we see this with the Apollo images when we're looking at that other image of the South Massif in its glory? And these guys are right up to it.
Marcus is showing some different photographs here. The one thing that needs to be pointed out here is you see the LEM is sitting in the distance, and you can see it is right on the far left corner there. It's really hard to see, but it's sitting on very much of an angle. You see that from Tracy's rock. It's sitting on the angle. It's not level. And the other shots right around with the flag and stuff like that shooting down there is perfectly level. And you even see rolls and stuff in it, and then you see the other one and it's perfectly flat. That's the North Massif. In every one of those, the LEM is in the pictures. Oh yeah, I just stuck that in there because you just can't have a wheel like that sticking out. It's a broken down machine. There's a wheel on the front and the back of that. It's like just garbage on the set. And now here's a beautiful shot. It's level.
Yeah, it is quite level. And so is the rover.
Yeah. So where are they getting these other shots from? They're coming up to Tracy's Rock, which is the northeast corner shooting. This is from the east shooting west here. And you see it's all rough. In this shot, it's all flat.
Yeah, it is completely flat, as is the rover.
Yeah, everything's perfectly flat. And now look at how rough it is again.
Yeah, it is. You can see where the rover's supposed to have been. Well, the tracks are there, but they go in the wrong direction.
Yeah, but we just had the other picture and it was absolutely level. There's the rock. This is shooting just a little bit more to the south. On the thing, I just wanted to pick out a bit of those mountains in there again. And there again, it's way too close. People need to realize that in relation to where the LEM is sitting on the set, the experimental equipment is very, very close to that. So why the difference in the background mountains?
That feature there, that little lighter patch, that appears in a lot of the pictures. So you can always identify where you are in relation to the mountains.
Yes.
That crater there, that appears in quite a few of the pictures as well. So it's always useful to use that as a guiding point. This feature here and that crater there.
And there's the same feature there again.
What's going on there?
Well, look at how close it is.
Yeah, it is.
We just had shots. The LEM is right up against the South Massif, which is what, how many miles long? 12, 14 miles long? So what's it doing in the southwest corner?
There's the crater there. So you know what you're looking at.
Yeah, the LEM has moved about 7 miles at that point.
So we got that picture there. There's the crater, there's the feature. And now there's the crater, there's the feature, and there's the lander, and there's the flag.
And then go back to the other picture. Any of the other pictures were in the long distance shots to show how far they are away from any of that. And that's what I'm saying. They have moved this machine 2, 3, maybe even 4 times.
This picture here was taken on the same magazine, 134-20494, very close together, but the lighting is completely different. Look at this. That's not in shadow at all. There's the crater there, completely different lighting.
Well, they stopped for afternoon tea and then took the other photographs. Yeah, you can't have the mountain create a shadow over there.
How come the astronaut's not lit up like a Christmas tree here?
Because he's in shadow.
Yeah, well, Buzz Aldrin's in shadow and he's lit up, so why isn't this astronaut?
They forgot.
Is he on his knees?
Continuity error. There's the astronaut.
We can't see his legs, we can't see his boots, and we can't see the bottom. So why is Aldrin lit up like a Christmas tree when this astronaut is not?
Because this astronaut didn't need to be featured, but Aldrin did. That's what you do in films. You feature your main subject.
I still can't get over this astronaut standing in the shade, and this is what it's supposed to look like. And yet Aldrin is in the exact same position, well, pretty close, and yet Aldrin is lit up like a Christmas tree. But that's what you would expect. You would expect it to be that dark down there.
Yeah, you would. I mean, that's a real picture in terms of the way in which a photographic film camera.
I know what's going on. Just hold it right there. There's 2 golf balls right there on the set.
Oh, look at that. Yes, I see them right. Yep.
Just go back up a bit.
There's 1, there's 2. Bingo.
Look at that's another golf ball right in front of him. Could be.
Oh, no, that's a very bright rock.
Okay. They're just bright rocks.
It's a sort of rock that reflects back the laser beams from Earth.
Those are golf balls. Don't tell me they're not golf balls, because those are not moon rocks. I'd like to see a moon rock like that on display, especially if it's a Titleist 7.
I didn't think Senna nor Schmidt were golfers.
Once you become famous enough, you have to golf.
Let's go and have a look at the golf ball again. Got one there. Got one there. Oh, no. The supporters will say it's just reflection off a rock.
To me, they look big enough to be baseballs.
Can we see any more around here?
Quite possibly. What's that underneath the leg there?
There's another one by the lander's leg too.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Amazing how many you find when you look for them.
Oh, there's another one right there too. There's another one by the ladder too. Look at that.
Yeah.
Right there, yeah.
It's got some dirt on it.
But that's interesting, isn't it? Those golf balls like this.
Yeah.
Well, they just show up.
Yeah, you can see them all the time.
If we actually had the absolute high resolution original pictures and had a full scan, had like a 48-bit or better scan from the original photographs, any filters on it or whatsoever, we would be able to see so much garbage on these sets. It's unbelievable. You remember I pulled the golf bag in the club out and I said, there it is? Because it actually is.
So it's interesting. These images, they've got the same crater there, the little mound there, same with the mound here and the crater there, taken at completely different times on the same roll of film.
I can miss that, but because you work with cameras, you understand them better, you pick off all of those things. I've been looking at these photographs forever. I never noticed the fact that that was shadowed in there like that. Everybody has their own specialty.
What have we got there? 20448 in the same magazine as 20494. They were talking about 50 pictures apart.
Well, how can that be so different, 50 pictures apart? The lighting.
Well, they'd have to be out there for about 2 days for that shadow to appear, for the sun to move that much. That's the biggest thing. They can't shade over like that. They're out there for 8 hours. The sun angle would change about the same as a half an hour on Earth.
Yeah, it would. Not very long at all.
46 pictures apart, and this is what we get.
Same magazine, 134.
Okay, now are we looking at the same hills and everything here? Like, are those the same hills? Because they look the same to me.
They are. Same.
There's the crater there on the right.
Yeah.
There's the crater there on the left.
Holy cow.
There's the mound there on the left. There's the mound there on the right.
So that whole hill is in darkness. Then that's impossible. 46 pictures later, and it's complete darkness there.
Yeah.
Well, that's not possible. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.